Yo, what is going on, guys? Extra Fusion here, and today we are going to be doing the Telltale The Walking Dead TV adaptation series. This is Season 4, Episode 10, which is titled Thin Ice. So, the episode begins with getting a close-up shot of the guilt on the Lily's face, as she's just completely zoning out, but it's then revealed that she's literally just peeing in the woods, as she, goes back to the group because she stopped the group to go pee in the woods pretty much, but we got this like weird, eerie shot of her face. You could tell she's feeling all sorts of guilt, and we all know why she's feeling that guilt. She's still feeling it revolving around what she did to Sarita back in Season 3. So they all continue walking through the woods together. They're all carrying a decent amount of supplies on their backs. Bonnie and Marla are still supporting Jordan all the way through since Jordan's leg is obviously fucked. Luke holds the map and keeps pointing out the directions of where they need to go, and as they walk, Omid checks on Kenny. He brings up how they all need to keep their heads up, and Kenny clearly is not having it. He clearly doesn't want to talk to anyone. Clem walks next to Sarah as Sarah is holding AJ and just kind of talks to her, asks how she's doing, and she's doing fine. The group walk through all sorts of woods as Luke is of course leading the way, and Luke tells them that there's about a couple more miles of woods. And Bonnie says there's no way Jordan can make it, they need a vehicle. And so they stop at this giant boulder near a cliff on a mountain within the woods, and Clem looks off the cliff as she gets a bit higher up, and she sees nothing but trees for miles, which is obviously a big issue. Kenny says they can't just hang out in the woods forever, and Jordan's leg ain't healing anytime soon. Two walkers emerge from the trees nearby as Kenny pulls out his revolver and shoots both of them in the head, and the group get really mad at him, specifically Jordan, Luke, Bonnie, Nick, and they say, "You shouldn't be doing that type of shit. We don't need that noise." And Kenny says they are in the middle of nowhere. Ain't no one gonna hear them. No walkers are around here. You might see one or two, but nothing they can't handle. Luke tells Kenny he needs to stop this. Kenny walks away after saying, "Don't order me to do things for you." Luke takes a look off into the distance from the cliff that Clem was looking, and he says they don't know what's ahead of them, and they sure as hell shouldn't go forward with at least taking a peek, especially because they have people who can't really walk or run all that well. So they decide that Jane, Luke, and Nick will go check things out, as Kenny says he'll go as well to cover more ground. Clem says you aren't going alone, and we should have at least 3 in each group. So Clem asks Lily if she could come along. She doesn't really seem like she wants to, but she does anyway, of course. So Clem's group, which is Clem, Kenny, and Lily, take the left side of the woods, as Luke's group, which is Luke, Jane, and Nick, go check out the right side of the woods ahead of them, just to make sure everything's safe. Omid keeps good watch over the group at the boulder, making sure everything is safe. Nick is kind of looking around on his own, but close enough to Jane and Luke, as Luke tries to seriously talk to Jane and ask her what the hell is up. He questions why she can't even talk to him anymore. Jane says she doesn't know. She just shut off before, and Luke asks if she just doesn't want to get close to anyone, and Jane says she tried it again, to kill herself. Only one thing stopped her, and that was the explosion that led her to them. And she honestly still wants to do it to herself, and Luke kind of doesn't really know what to say to that. He kind of just sits there and he's like, just taking it all in. Luke is obviously not very good at talking to people who are going through situations like this, so he's just kind of like awkwardly like, trying to be there for her, but also like, I don't know what to say to that. So then we go back to Clem, Kenny, and Lily, and they are walking, and they come across this pretty flat area with tons of trees, of course, and there's this little mountain next to them, and a walker surprise attacks Kenny around a tree, but Kenny turns the walker and just body slams onto the ground, and then he repeatedly stabs the walker in the head. Lily gets him to stop, and Clem tells Kenny he really needs to stop this crap. The group then hear a creaking-like noise as they look over from around the corner of the mountainside, and they see a kid dead, hanging from a tree. This eerie music plays as Kenny drops his knife and he falls to his knees and looks up at the boy hanging. And they can tell it was recent because the boy's body isn't that, bad, and the hanging is still creaking, meaning it was recently done. It's still moving a little bit. Otherwise it would probably be staying still, but it's clearly something that happened recently. And Kenny tells Lily and Clem that he can't go on anymore. He just can't stop thinking about his family. He says he wants to be dead. He wanted to be dead multiple times before, but he can't let himself go. He's just not strong enough. Clem tells him that you're one of the strongest men she knows. And Lily's obviously uncomfortable throughout this whole conversation because, obviously what she did. And then Kenny looks to Lily and says, that he's so sorry for what he did to her dad. While he's crying, he's like in tears. He says it wasn't my call to make. He also says that he blamed her for the death of his son before, but it wasn't her, and he knows that. She didn't kill him. And Lily tells Kenny she needs a minute as she walks off from around the corner and throws up everywhere. She falls to the ground and sits up against the side of the mountain. Clem notices this and asks if she's okay, and Lily says she's fine, she must have just ate something bad. Clem says she'll grab her some water as she quickly heads back to where the others were. Kenny then quickly notices a figure in the distance. As he then notices it's a person, he quickly gets up as the person starts shooting sniper shots at Kenny, but missing, of course. Kenny runs behind a tree, keeps running as more shots are fired towards him. Even Lily gets shot at as she has to get up and start running towards the direction that Kenny was running in as well. Clem hears the shots, quickly turns around to run back to the others, but she is forced to hit the deck behind a tree when a shot gets close to her as well. Luke, Jane, and Nick head in the direction that they all went in to see what the hell is going on, and those back at the boulder panic, but Omid says they can handle it, they can't have everyone running out there. Lily and Kenny keep running as they notice that these two people are shooting at them, it's not just one. Kenny falls down a little hill and hides behind a tree. He has his revolver, he left his AK back with the others of course. Lily has a Glock. Kenny hears one of them trying to flank for a better position as the guy gets a little bit closer. So Kenny quickly decides to run up and fire a shot into the man's chest, knocking him over. Lily gets to Kenny, and then Kenny gets a good look at the man, and it looks like a Russian, but they don't really know that. Kenny grabs the guys at Mosin that got sniper rifle as Luke, Nick, Jane, and Clem reach the group and see the dead guy on the floor. Nick asks what the fuck happened as Kenny explains they just started shooting at them. Lily asks if they think it's the New Frontier or more of those Russians. And then the group hears some wrinkling in the leaves behind a tree nearby, so they slowly creep up to it as Kenny tells the person to come out now. And Arvo is the one to peek his head out with a sniper in his hand as Kenny grabs Arvo's gun, uses it to headbutt Arvo in the face. Kenny goes to shoot him in the face, but Clem quickly stops him and tells him that they aren't killers. Kenny says, and he screams this is the second time he was shooting at us. Arvo pleads and says he's sorry. Kenny says they can't let this fucker get away with this again. He yells at him and asks, how the hell did you escape from retribution? Arvo says the New Frontier saved him, and the group tie up Arvo as they bring him back to the others at the boulder. The group all question what they should do with him and what they should do about the rest of their journey. Luke tells Arvo to point out their people's base on the map because they now know obviously there's definitely more of these Russians, and Arvo refuses. Luke yells at him and says, for our people's safety, do it. Arvo says, only if you promise me you won't hurt my sister, and Luke says that we aren't killers. As Arvo yells, tell that to my sick sister, who is even worse now because you stole her medicine. Obviously, he's saying this in that Russian accent. I'm not going to give you guys a Russian accent, though. So, Arvo says he doesn't even like those people in the group. He just takes their orders, but his sister is there. Those people gave him safety, and that was enough for him to fight for them, to fight for his sister. Kenny says he doesn't give a flying fuck about his needs. Bonnie gets in Kenny's face and tells him to calm down, and then Kenny tells her to get her cunt ass out of his face, and Jordan tells him to watch his damn mouth. Everyone's screaming at each other. AJ starts crying as Sarah yells to shut up already and stop fighting. Luke says they're just gonna have to go around wherever his people are staying, so Luke asks nicely this time to Arvo to point it out, and Arvo does. Luke says it's right across the bridge, right outside of the bridge that it goes over this river. So that means they'll have to cross the river somewhere else because the closest bridge is about an extra 20 damn miles away. So there's no way they're getting to it. Marla says the river should be frozen over, right? So they could just walk right over. And Luke says, but it's warmer out today, so it might not be as safe. But it's really the only way unless they want to spend an extra day or so walking. Man, obviously the group can't do that, so they continue on through the woods. And Jordan is obviously being held up by Omid and Nick this time to give Bonnie and Marla a rest. Kenny keeps treating Arvo like shit, pushing him forward and stuff, as they obviously have his hands tied. Bonnie is very annoyed with him, as even Omid tries to tell Kenny that pushing him isn't helping. Kenny said him shooting at us ain't helping either. As they are walking through the woods, they hear something creeping up on them, as they all draw their weapons. But it turns out to just be a golden retriever dog. The dog is nice and just goes up to the group and lays on the ground on its back. Clem slowly goes up to it as Kenny tells her not to, but she does that anyways. She goes really slowly. She's clearly scared after her last encounter with a dog in season 2, but this dog just goes up to her and starts licking her face, and she starts smiling and hugs the dog. The dog is just so happy, and the group have a nice moment of happiness. Even Kenny smiles. The dog doesn't have a name tag, but he has a collar. Clem takes some rope that she had in her bag and makes a leash out of it to wrap around her collar, or his collar, so they can, keep the dog, and the group continue on. They eventually reach the frozen over river. Omid says this could be dangerous, and they see the bridge in the distance as Luke says it's better than walking straight into the enemy. Arvo keeps pleading for him to be returned to his sister, and Jordan says they'll let him go eventually, and Kenny says the hell we will. Bonnie says, can we not do this now? Luke says, yeah, let's just cross this damn river first, then we'll argue later. Luke slowly starts walking on the ice. It seems okay at first. He moves forward a bit more. Jane tells everyone to stay spaced out, don't walk close to anyone else. Kenny tells Clem that holding onto the dog might be too heavy. Clem says she has to try, she ain't leaving the dog back here. But Kenny says it's just a dog. Clem says it'll be fine, and then Sarah asks what she's going to name him, and she says, Sam sounds like a good name to me. Same name as the dog in season 2, of course, if you guys remember. Sarah just says she likes that. So Clem tells Sam to go slowly, obviously knowing that the dog's not going to answer her, but people talk to dogs sometimes. And she tells him to go slowly, stay behind a bit. Luke, Nick, and Jane are almost halfway across, pretty much. Bonnie, Marla, Lily, Jordan, Arvo are also just about halfway across, as Kenny, Omid, Clem, and Sarah follow. Luke makes one false step as the ice just starts cracking all around the entire area of the river. This is a long, deep river, by the way. If they fell in, it would be kind of shitty. Everyone stands still as Clem hears something coming from the woods, and it's a decent amount of walkers, like about 15 or so. Arvo takes this as an opportunity to start running off. Kenny chases after him, but everyone else is too afraid to move fast on the ice. Arvo falls through the ice, but is at the very end of the river, so he just gets back up, but Kenny reaches him, tackles him over, starts punching him in the face. Bonnie, Marla, and Jordan get over to him quickly to stop Kenny, as the ice around Sarah cracks the most, and she's holding AJ. It's just like that scene in the game when Luke is surrounded upon all that ice cracking, but this time it's Sarah, and she's holding AJ. She can't even move because there's so much cracked ice around her. She's terrified. Omid tells Clem she needs to help her. He'll hold back the walkers as they start to get really close. Clem says she can't. Too much weight. They'll both go through. Lily sees this and slowly moves back to help Clem and Sarah by shooting the walkers with Omid. Luke, Jane, and Nick get to the edge of the river and get Kenny off of Arvo after he pretty much almost kills Arvo by punching him in the face multiple times. Jordan, Marla, and Bonnie get there too, as Jordan is yelling at Kenny. Kenny tells him to can it as he pushes Jordan over, forgetting that he obviously has a nearly broken leg. Jordan falls over with his leg hurting even more. Bonnie and Marla help him up as Luke gets up to Kenny and tells him to get the fuck away. Stop this bullshit. Kenny just walks away realizing what he's done. He realizes he's not in a good state of mind, so he just goes over, sits down in the snow by himself. Sam is just sitting there barking his ass off at the walkers as Clem tries to pull him across the river, but he doesn't want to go. Lily tells Clem she has to let go, and Sarah's just slowly trying to move away from the cracked parts of the ice. The others see this as Kenny gets hella worried, and he snaps out of it because he realizes he's a father-like figure to these people. He needs to help. So what he does is he starts running across the ice, but a lot of the ice starts breaking even worse, and Kenny goes straight through. He falls straight through. Clem sees this, and she lets go of Sam instantly. She just lets Sam go, and Sam just starts running towards the walkers. Clem just runs straight to the part where Kenny fell through. Omid shoots the last walker, though, because Sam goes over there, continues barking at the walkers, but he doesn't attack them. He's a pretty nice dog, so he doesn't attack the walkers, but Kenny goes straight through, and Clem goes over there. Everyone else goes over there, and they're freaking out because Kenny just fell through. Sarah is able to get away from the cracked area safely with AJ in her arms, thankfully. Clem literally jumps into the water, swims down, tries to pick up Kenny, who is knocked unconscious because when he fell through, he hit his head on the ice when going down. He is too heavy though, so he can't bring him up, but thankfully Lily jumps in the water as well, helps her drag them out of the water. They get Kenny to safety. Even Sam decides to come back across the river safely to check on Clem as he starts licking her. And Kenny wakes up. He's okay, but they are freezing. So that night, the group camp out in the woods with a nice fire. Kenny thanks Clem and Lily for saving his life. A lot of the others are asleep. Arvo is tied to a tree. Kenny says someone needs to stay on watch, so it'll be him. Luke and Omid say they don't mind staying up, but then Omid changes his mind and says he's actually not had decent sleep in like years, so maybe tonight will be the night. Sarah is sleeping beside Sam, but Sam's not asleep though. He's just kind of chilling there, as Luke is holding AJ while AJ sleeps. Everyone else goes off to bed. Luke sits next to Kenny on a tree log. Luke asks Kenny if he wants to hold him, and Kenny questions why you'd let him hold a child after how he's acted lately. Luke says he knows he's just going through stuff. And Luke says he's sorry for blaming you for Rebecca's death. But Luke does say that Kenny needs to just calm the hell down. He says he needs to stop being so angry. He says the group needs a father-like figure, and you are that. He then says AJ needs it as well. Kenny then decides he wants to hold AJ, and it's a really beautiful scene with Kenny holding AJ, holds him close. Even a couple tears drop. He's had 2 kids before, so he knows what it's like to hold a child like this. But then Sam starts barking out of nowhere at something coming from the woods, and this wakes everyone up. He's barking non-stop. Luke and Kenny quickly look over, and everyone grabs their guns, and the group is suddenly surrounded by the Russians at all angles. All 30 or so of them, all the ones that are at that lake house. Then we see Rais emerge from the group. As he takes a good look at everyone, the group is clearly outnumbered. Rais has his men confiscate the group's guns as Sam just keeps barking. So Rais quickly raises his Desert Eagle handgun and shoots a bullet straight through Sam's face, killing the dog instantly. Clem is in shock as she lets out a soft shriek in horror. The group is terrified as everyone's stuff is taken from them. Rais frees Arvo as he looks at him in disgust, pissed off that he got captured by these people like for the 3rd damn time pretty much. He looks back at the group with an incredibly serious face, and Kenny speaks up first and says that your people attacked first. Rais looks over to Kenny and says, if any one of you speak again, I'll shoot someone. He tells the other Russians to round them up. They are all coming back to his house. The group is all rounded up with guns pointed directly at their faces. Jordan can barely walk as they force him to hop. Bonnie says, please let me just help him walk. And Rais says it's fine, as Bonnie then helps Jordan walk. Everyone is completely terrified as to what's to come. They have no idea where they are being taken or what will happen to them. They are terrified. And boom, that is the end of the episode. I really enjoyed this one. It's not my favorite, but I need to let you guys know this now because next episode is just so like crazy. Okay, like I don't like overhyping things, you know, even though I do think it deserves the hype, but I need a disclaimer though. The next episode will have stuff that is really fucked up, really like triggering to certain people for sure. It's not stuff I think AMC would ever do, but I'm doing it for the story. I'm doing it because I really like what will come from what's going to happen. So next episode is one of the most gruesome, grotesque. I mean, I literally felt uncomfortable writing it. I was like, I could barely write it. I was just like, this feels so wrong. The whole time I was like, I don't want to do this, but I have to. It's what I want to do for the story, and that's what I'm gonna do. But it was just so hard to write it, and I really can't wait to share it with you guys though, because I think it's some of the strongest like just work I've done next episode. So hopefully you guys are, you know, prepared for it. I'll give you guys a little teaser image. Here's what the thumbnail is gonna be for the episode, just to let you guys know what it's gonna be like, what the name is, what the image is gonna be, so you can kind of get an idea as to what it's gonna be like from the image and from the title. So I'm excited. It's a mix of some of the most gruesome episodes from The Walking Dead you've ever seen. Like I'd say, you know, 701, 416, 501, some of those really intense, like just gut-punching episodes. This is going to be one of those. So I just want to get that out there. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.